This episode of Bob's Burgers made me cry, and it might make you cry too. What's good, guys? It's Alissa. If you're new here, hello. So I started watching Bob's Burgers around 2010 when Fox released the short clips of the show before it actually premiered. This was back when Hulu was just a website with ads playing through the episodes. In my youth, when I lived with my nana, my uncle would just prop his laptop up on the floor and me and my sisters would sit crisscross applesauce just watching those short clips over and over and over. And I remember back then thinking like, this show is so odd, but something just made me keep wanting to watch. And this episode definitely reminded me of what that was. Bob's Burgers just kicked off season 14 October 1st, and just 2 episodes in, I can tell that we're off to a pretty good start. While the first episode also got me in my feelings, in this video, I want to talk about season 14 episode 2 titled The Amazing Rudy. This episode follows Regular Sized Rudy and barely even features the Belchers. The episode starts with Rudy waking up feeling stressed because it's Saturday. However, we don't know exactly what Saturday means just yet, but as the episode goes on, we start to discover why Rudy is feeling a little anxious. His dad, Sylvester, calls him down for breakfast and makes just eggs? As he's preparing Rudy's plate, he talks about how he called the restaurant in advance to see what they have on the menu. Rudy's dad lets him know that they're going to be running a few errands before they head to the restaurant tonight, which he also seems pretty anxious about. He runs down that he has to wash his car and go exchange a shirt that he bought because he has been putting on some self-proclaimed muscle. Rudy asks if they could stop by the magic store along the way.
The main event of these dinners, tableside magic by the Amazing Rudy.
At the magic store, Rudy is greeted by Esmeralda, who is voiced by Cheryl Lee Ralph. Can you say iconic? Rudy is trying to find the perfect magic trick or even the most awkward fine dining experiences for under $13. After a couple misses, Rudy settled for a couple packets of
sodium polyacrylate. Sodium poly, what'd you say?
For $8.99 plus tax. Later, as Rudy and his dad are going to the car wash, his dad takes this as an opportunity to have a conversation with Rudy about tonight. The car wash is too loud, so we can barely get out what his dad is trying to say. But context clues and subtitles leads us to believe that this dinner will involve his mom and her new boyfriend, which is a little different than their usual arrangements. Throughout the show, it is known that Rudy's parents are divorced, but we only ever see Rudy with his dad having an occasional girlfriend, failing relationship, talking stage, or simply shooting his shot and missing horribly. We make it to the mall, where Sylvester is exchanging his shirt. Rudy wanders off to find a hat for tonight's dinner. Then he peeps the Belcher kids playing in the mall's fountain from afar. Some time later, while wandering the mall, Rudy greets the Belchers in a knick-knack shop while Linda is trying to find the perfect gift for her parents' anniversary. Gene is in a rush to get home because he got a B-, and to celebrate, his parents allowed him to pick dinner for tonight. And in true Gene fashion, he settles for a loaded baked potato lasagna.
I'm not sure lasagna should include a loaded baked potato or a cornbread crust.
Louise invites Rudy to dinner, but he lets it be known that he has a family dinner to go to tonight. From this point, it's pretty much confirmed that Rudy is nervous for this particular family dinner, and it's smart to assume that there will be some family dynamics that he and his dad are taking some time to get used to.
Our monthly We're Still a Family dinner with your mom, but now with my friend Vicky and your mom's friend Paul.
Back at Rudy's house, he and his dad are all dressed and ready to go to dinner. Rudy's dad starts to realize that his shirt looks rightfully ridiculous and starts to fidget with how he looks. This self-consciousness rubs off on Rudy, and he begins to question the hat that he decided on. He and his dad go back and forth with themselves on how they should present themselves for tonight. His dad settles on the fact that they both look great and they just need to head out now. And just like any situation that makes you anxious, by anyone I mean me, Rudy has to poop. And I think that this episode is a nice peek into the dynamic between Rudy and his dad. There are a lot of moments where if Rudy's dad is emoting negatively or positively, Rudy starts to show those same emotions and vice versa. Because when Rudy let it be known that he had to poop, his dad then had to poop, and they raced each other to the bathroom. Sorry for the amount of times I said poop. As Rudy and his dad are heading to dinner, it's very obvious that his dad is nervous. So nervous that Rudy points it out, and his dad noticed that he had been rambling the whole ride. My favorite thing about this episode was that it was mostly from Rudy's perspective.
So,
So, should we get a drink at the bar?
So when they make it to the restaurant, we are at Rudy's eye level, and we're just following Rudy's eyes as he's analyzing his surroundings. We see that his mom and Paul are holding hands, while his dad and Vicky are not. And this scene said so much without saying anything at all. Here we see a montage of some of the times that Rudy has performed his amazing Rudy magic trick at the dinner table for his parents. This is also the first time we ever see Rudy's mom. It seems that through the years, his parents have slowly been falling out of love, and Rudy notices that. And although they may not care to be in the presence of each other, when it comes to Rudy, they are very attentive and supportive of his performance. So after the montage, Rudy decides to start his spectacular magic trick for his parents, +2. The magic trick begins with a normal cup. They pass around the cup, making sure the cup is in fact normal and empty. As Rudy warms up the magic trick, he pours the water into the cup, says a couple magic words, and when he turns the cup over, the water will be gone. Except the water is not gone, and the
Sodium polyacrylate
that he had inside spills all over the table and onto Vicky's suede slacks. Rudy realizes that he didn't do enough banter and that he was supposed to leave this
Sodium polyacrylate
for 30 seconds in order for the trick to work. Rudy's parents are trying to keep things positive as Vicky freaks out about her pants. Rudy reiterates that the trick was supposed to work, but as he and everyone else sees, the trick didn't work. With all the hysteria happening at the table, with his mom trying to beckon the waiter to get napkins, his dad trying to comfort Vicky about her pants, and Paul just being Paul, Rudy becomes overwhelmed and excuses himself to the restroom. He walks to the restroom with tears filling his eyes, but once Rudy makes it to the restroom, he sees the exit across the way. Rudy decides to make a run for it outside of the restaurant as tears fall down his eyes. And as a kid who would get equally overwhelmed in situations like this, I understand why Rudy decided to go outside versus the restroom, because sometimes you just need to be alone with some fresh air. Now, of course, this is not a very safe decision to make because Rudy is just a small child walking down a dark, empty street at night.
Don't try that at home.
As Rudy is walking down the street, tears in his eyes, he hears a familiar voice. The familiar voice being Jean kissing the ketchup bottles in Bob's Burgers goodnight. Louise notices Rudy in the window of the restaurant and, being the sponge that she is, remembers that Rudy had a dinner tonight. So she asks him what happened and jokingly asked if he got stood up. Rudy, of course, not ready to reveal the details of the magic trick debacle, tells her that it got moved around. Louise is excited because he can now join them for their super lasagna dinner that Jean planned. And of course, the concerned parent that Linda is, asks Rudy if his parents dropped him off. Rudy, not ready to reveal the whole running away debacle, confirms that his parents dropped him off. The Belchers, plus Rudy, are in the kitchen preparing to eat their super lasagna dinner. As Linda takes it out the oven, she says that it weighs about 50 pounds and Bob is unfamiliar with all the smells coming from inside of that oven. Jean prepares a speech before they feast on the lasagna, and here we get another perspective from Rudy, who is outside looking in at the family sitting at the table around him. The super lasagna includes cheese, bacon, noodles, red sauce, ground beef, chives, sour cream, and a piece of a bagel? Only Jean could come up with something so disgusting and expect others to think that this would be delicious. The general consensus of the lasagna is confusion. As a person who also grew up with a lot of siblings, I'm always surprised at how Bob and Linda are willing to give in to their kids' shenanigans, because the sheer waste of food in that lasagna gives me chest pain. We used to be able to get a jug of water for 75 cents to $1. Why is a jug of water more than $1 right now? And as transparent as they are about not making enough money and barely being able to afford rent, I'm surprised they went out and bought all those ingredients for that lasagna and made what I assume no one is going to be eating leftovers of. When Jean asks Rudy of his opinion on the lasagna, Rudy says it is groundbreaking, being the only person who appreciates Jean's creative efforts for tonight's dinner. But Rudy makes one mistake while giving his feedback. He says that the lasagna is
definitely better than what I ordered.
And of course, Louise, being the absolute sponge that she is, notices that Rudy uses the word ordered. This alerts the entire table, including Rudy, who tries to save himself by explaining that he meant order, present tense, ordering himself to eat this lasagna. But this does not fly with Linda, who then asks him if his parents actually know where he is, even though Rudy reiterates that his parents in fact let him come over. Linda, rightfully, decides to call his parents anyway to confirm. Linda is trying to figure out which parent she should call for Rudy, remembering that he was with his dad at the mall earlier.
But if you had to pick one...
To call.
Yeah, to call. Not pick one, like pick one. God.
Rudy's dad, being incompetent, sorry, that was me. Rudy's dad, being distracted, didn't notice his phone ringing in his pocket, so the call went to voicemail and the voicemail box was full. Hysteria starts to fill the room since everyone is worried that Rudy did not tell his parents where he was. This overwhelms Rudy, and he decides he wants to pack it up and head back to the restaurant. Bombarded with questions, Rudy reveals that he walked out on dinner with his parents, and Vicky, and Paul, and as he sat at dinner with the Belchers, he realizes that his family dinners are no longer going to be like this, which is he and his parents as a family. He tells them about the magic trick gone wrong, and that it was supposed to work, but it didn't, and that's why he ran away.
Wait, what?
Growing up, I was definitely the type to get overwhelmed and run away from all my problems too. I wonder how that manifested as an adult. Oh. I'm pretty sure at least 45 minutes to an hour have passed since Rudy left and had dinner with the Belchers while his family believes that he's in the restaurant's bathroom. Bob, who has been silent for most of this time, starts to become worried and more vocal once he realizes the scope of the situation and starts to theorize that his parents might be calling the police now since Rudy is technically missing. He decides that he is going to drive Rudy back to the restaurant and walk him in, of course with the weight of the entire situation. Rudy becomes overwhelmed again and decides to take a little break from this conversation with tears forming in his eyes. As Bob looks for his keys, Linda and the kids are comforting Rudy at the stairs, letting him know that everything is going to be alright and that his parents are rightfully concerned about where he was. And although Louise may seem like a tough kid, there are many instances where she has shown that she is also empathetic and sometimes places herself in situations to cheer people up. So she asked her parents if she can walk Rudy back to the restaurant. Her parents hesitantly agree, and as Rudy and Louise walk out the front door, Linda rushes back to the window to watch them walk to the restaurant.
They'll be totally fine.
No, I know. I just wanted to watch.
The episode ends with Louise walking Rudy down to the restaurant as she asks him about his magic. The end credits roll as they show us Louise bringing Rudy back to his mom and dad, and Vicky, and Paul. They pull up a chair for Louise, and they all sit and enjoy the rest of their night. This was one of the most heartfelt episodes of Bob's Burgers that I've watched, some of which include Bed Bob and Beyond, Flu Louise, any of the Hawk and Chick episodes, Sacred Couch, and any of the episodes that are Linda and Louise focused. There were a lot of subtle, funny moments in this episode that I purposely left out because you should definitely go check out this episode. While rewatching this episode for this video, I realized that it wasn't by chance that Rudy saw the Belchers in that trinket shop. I think that the Belchers are the closest family unit that Rudy knows and was inadvertently finding comfort in them as the episode went on. I know that this episode will resonate with some that have been in Rudy's shoes. I definitely did. The scene where Rudy sits at the Belchers dinner table taking in that familial structure that he once knew before things got real different and was never going to be the same. Yeah. And for me, I guess this episode took me back to those days when things actually became different, which is ironically when I discovered some of my favorite cartoons like Adventure Time and even Bob's Burgers. And this is super sidebar, but if I were to ever create a show with a self-insert character, she would be a lot like Tina. I feel like Tina has a lot of my covert personality traits, as seen in this episode. And to continue to be sentimental and sappy, I want to dedicate this video to my uncle, because if it weren't for his unapologetic nerd tendencies, I wouldn't be into all the nerdy stuff that I'm into now, like cartoons and anime, which he introduced a lot of that stuff to me and even my siblings. And shout out to the people that lived with their grandparents. I see you, I hear you, I stand with you. I hope you all enjoyed this video. I know it's a little more personal than my usual videos, but I'm a certified oversharer. But if you made it to the end of this video, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to my channel, and make sure you hit that notification bell to stay up to date with posts and uploads from me. But for now, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you in my next upload. Peace.